Let's just take a couple of minutes and talk about the semester research project. The semester research project is going to be due right before Christmas, but it can be a bit confusing. Let me reassure you really quick that the final paper is only 6 pages, so it's not too much to write, but you will have to spend significant time cutting that down and making sure that you have all of the relevant information. The other good news is that we're going to be completing the research paper in sections over the course of the entire semester, which means that you'll receive feedback on every piece of the research paper with the exception of the discussion section prior to submitting it as part of the final paper. And I provide extensive feedback. You are welcome to rework, rewrite, and I'm happy to read it again once you receive that feedback. Just let me know. So I've created this tool to help you through that process. And every group will be provided one of these blank spreadsheets as soon as the group is formed and your research topic has been approved. So let's get started. This is an example project that is much longer than the project that you will complete. As I said, your final paper will be about 6 pages, and this one was closer to 90. So this is just part of that project. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create our research questions or purposes. Depending on your topic, you might have research questions or purposes. We'll talk about that as your individual group needs come up. So you will enter your research questions right here. And the reason that we're doing that is we really need to keep these research questions in mind over the course of the entire semester. We are not just writing these questions, putting them in a special place, submitting them on iLearn, and then forgetting they exist. We are using them the whole time. So we'll write our research questions, you'll receive feedback, you'll rework those, and you'll enter them into this spreadsheet. Then when you move on to the next section, which is the methods and sampling framework, your research questions will automatically populate right here. So you can add in the population and sample and the method of recruitment. The reason for this is I want to encourage you to always refer back to those research questions no matter what section of the paper that you're working on. So as you see, this research question relates to this population and sample and this method of recruitment. This should be the same all the way down, but in the event that it isn't, here you go for every research question. Then we move on to survey questions. So this research question relates to these survey questions. And this is important because oftentimes when you write a survey, you get bogged down with the need to know versus nice to know questions. There are a lot of really interesting things you can ask in a survey, but not all of them are relevant. And the most important part of this project is that you're able to answer your research questions using only the data you collect from your survey. So that's one really good way to keep track of it. Research question, relevant survey questions, and you can see it goes all the way down. As I said, these things will automatically populate. So once you move on to, for example, the results in statistical testing, when you come into this tab initially, this part should be blank, the statistical test, but the research questions, population and sample, method of recruitment, and survey questions should be filled in if you're keeping track of the survey. So here we go. This is how we are going to test these questions to answer this research question, and so on down the line. Then we'll move on to the discussion section. The discussion section is the one and only part of the paper that you will do without first submitting for a grade. This will be included in the final version of the paper, but you will never submit this separately for credit. You are welcome to submit the discussion section to me separately so that I can read over it and provide you feedback. That's always an option, but you will not receive credit on an additional assignment for that. Okay, so we get to the discussion section. Here's our research question, here's our population and sample, here's our method of recruitment, our survey questions, our statistical test, and now we get to the interpretation. So what do the answers mean? And then how can we connect that to previous sources and what citations are relevant to that? And you can see we go down below. Then finally, here's your research plan. And your research plan is essentially the discussion section with maybe 1 or 2 additional lines added in. And this is basically your final paper. you will take this information and potentially a little bit more that you haven't decided to include in this, and you will create a narrative form and submit it. This tool, it will not be graded, but it will help you stay on track over the course of the semester. It is hard to flip back and forth through previous assignments, so I really, really strongly encourage you to look at this tool and to use this tool. As I will be the one that creates it, I will be on all of these spreadsheets, and I am happy to look at your Google Sheet and let you know if I have any comments along the way. Just please go ahead and ask. One last thing I want to make you aware of. Like I said, people often have trouble with need to know versus nice to know survey questions. And this spreadsheet gives you a place right here below, starting on the survey questions tab that says, do you have any questions that are not listed above? So these would be questions that are not related to the research questions. If yes, please list them here. Why are you asking these questions? In a lot of cases, you'll have just a little bit of extra space on your surveys, and you'll want to throw in a couple nice to know questions, and you'll just justify that there. This is just an exercise to help you be aware of what you're doing and why you're doing it. I don't want you to get to the end of the semester and realize I didn't collect any relevant data. Why didn't I collect any relevant data? This just helps you keep track along the way. Again, this spreadsheet will be sent out once your groups are formed and your research topics have been approved. If you haven't already filled out the group availability wiki, please go ahead and do that as soon as possible. I believe that is due on Wednesday evening, and I will put you into groups on Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. You'll receive an email, and it will be posted to the class announcements. Those groups are final. I understand that it is difficult to work with people in different time zones who maybe have different schedules. Some thought was put into how your groups were arranged, but like I've said before, you're welcome to meet at whatever time works best for your group members. You're not required to meet at the time that you initially signed up for. If Monday at 3 a.m. works best, please, by all means, meet Monday at 3 a.m. If you find that your group isn't able to meet together on Google Hangouts frequently, that's okay. Make sure that you are in constant communication via email and text, whatever the best way for your group members to meet and discuss. Go ahead and find that method. Just let me know what you're planning to do and make sure to be consistent throughout the semester. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.